Okay. After this episode, Baby Yoda can go back on the top shelf. He's cute again. So this is episode 4 of season 2, chapter 12, entitled The Siege, and it sees the Mandalorians' old allies return as they need his help for a new mission. And so again, jumping into this episode, there will be straight spoilers I will be talking about for the Mandalorian. So if you haven't seen this episode of the Mandalorian, please go back and watch that and then come back here. Also, if you can, please hit that like button. It'll really help out the channel with the algorithm and such like that. And your assistance in this matter will be greatly appreciated. Wow, I sound like a professional. Your assistance in this matter would be greatly appreciated, but it will. But anyway, so yeah, this episode jumps where you see the Mandalorian. He's still trying to make his way to that planet that Bo-Katan told him to go to, where you will find Ahsoka Tano. But as you saw from last week's episode, his ship is in ruins. So while he's traveling through space, he wasn't able to fully make his way to the planet. I can't remember the name of that planet. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. So because of that, he's trying to get Baby Yoda to help him fix his ship. And the area that he needs to have his ship fixed is so small that he can't get his way in there. So he tries to get Baby Yoda in there because Baby Yoda is small enough to fit through that little compartment. And so he's trying to get Baby Yoda to put wires in a certain way. Like the red wire has to go where the blue spot is and the blue wire has to go where the red spot is. It's all pretty confusing. I pretty much got it, but you're trying to get a baby to understand what's going on. And so this scene I just thought was so cute. He's like, no, put the red wire with the, and Baby Yoda's like, what is happening? And then he electrocutes himself, and I just thought the whole scene was so cute. I'm like, okay, Baby Yoda, you won me over again. But I'm still watching you. And so the Mandalorian ends up having to make a stop on the planet Navarro. For whatever reason, I want to say Nebuchadnezzar, but that's the ship from the Matrix. But anyway, upon making his stop on Navarro, that's when we see the return of the beloved characters of Greef Karga, played by Carl Weathers, who actually directed this episode, and Gina Carano's Cara Dune. And say what you want about Gina Carano, I know she's causing a lot of controversy and people are trying to get her fired from the Mandalorian because of the tweets and the things that she believes in terms of her politics and joining white supremacist websites and stuff like that. I'm putting all of that aside for this review, but the character of Cara Dune, I like her character. I'm not speaking about the actor. And so with that, upon the arrival on Navarro, you see this opening action scene with Cara Dune as she's taking out these alien looking creatures with these giant buck teeth. And funny enough, the first thing I thought of when I saw those creatures was, man, you would not want to get a blowjob from them. Again, that was literally my first thought, which just goes to show my mind and how much in the gutter it always is. But hey, I think of that Rent song, "Take me, baby, or leave me." Hopefully you guys take me. So Cara Dune ends up taking out those creatures. I'm assuming those creatures were thieves because she says once she's done, there's this little like ferret looking creature that she saved that she has to get all this stuff back to the people that it belonged to. And it turns out that she's actually the sheriff of this entire planet, which I'm just like, that's a huge, arduous task, being the marshal of the entire planet, but whatever, it's a Star Wars. So after she's done with her mission, that's when the Mandalorian arrives on that planet, and he's greeted by Greef and Cara, and they get these little creatures to help fix his ship. And there's this moment that as they're walking off, this one creature's looking at them in a very suspicious way, and I was just like, oh man, something's about to happen. And it turns out I was right, but we'll get to that later on in the episode. But in this episode, it turns out that Greef Karga and Cara Dune need the Mandalorians' help because for the most part, the planet is pretty peaceful. They have a couple vagabonds here and there, like those little creatures that Cara Dune had to take out in the beginning of the episode. But overall, the planet's pretty peaceful, except for this one part of the planet that still has former Imperial troops and stormtroopers. And so Cara Dune and Greef Karga needs the Mandalorians' help to basically get rid of this last remnant of the Imperial forces on this planet. And that's that's essentially what this episode is about. And so with that, the Mandalorian ends up dropping Baby Yoda off to a school that's on this planet. And despite Baby Yoda being all cute and everything like that, I do feel like he's going to need to be disciplined at some point, because this kid doesn't know the meaning of the word no. And I understand he's a kid and all, and I was bad as hell when I was a kid. But at the same time, I still got disciplined when I did stuff that was bad. And that's really the only way you learn as a kid. And for the most part, Baby Yoda hasn't been disciplined. And I'm not saying you need to beat Baby Yoda, but I don't know, put him on punishment or something. Because remember in season 1, at one point, he almost killed Cara Dune. And this is Star Wars. It's very easy to fall into the dark side. So, and especially since he's not being raised and trained by the Jedi, like, yeah, Baby Yoda needs some parameters. But anyway, that's not what this episode is about. So yeah, they end up going to this Imperial area, and they basically set off the reactor to try to make it explode. And they try to do all of this without getting caught by the Empire. But of course, once all the alarms and stuff goes off because the reactor is about to explode, stormtroopers are running around and they end up getting caught. And so they end up in a gunfight with the stormtroopers. And there's a moment in this episode, and it's literally at the 18-minute and 54-second timestamp. And there's this moment where Greef Karga, Cara Dune, the Mandalorian, and then that fish-looking creature that you saw from the first episode who makes a return in this episode, they're in the hallway in a gunfight with Imperial troopers. And I'm just like, with all the money that they spend on this show, I'm like, who edited this show? There's no person that caught this. You see this right here. Take a look at where I circled the picture. You see a dude clearly in regular, normal looking real life clothes who's on the set trying to hide. And I'm just like, obviously with TV shows, there's like little glitches that you see with filming, whether like in one scene a guy has glasses and then the next scene he doesn't have glasses, or you see blood on a person's collar and then the next scene the blood is gone, or in one scene they're wet, the next scene they're not wet. Those are small things that you can kind of overlook. I'm like, this is literally a crew member that shouldn't be on set. I'm like, nobody overlooked, like, who edited this episode? I'm like, you would think with all the eyes that are on this show from the editing process that somebody would have caught it. Because I'm like, the internet caught this immediately. And even I kind of saw it when I was watching the episode, because I was like, what is, like, it was very quick and I saw something in the background, but I didn't pay that much attention to it until I saw it later on the internet that, oh, that thing that I saw was this. Granted, overall, it's not that big of a deal, but at the same time, it kind of is. And so once they take out the troopers, they end up finding out that this Imperial fortress that they thought was just a place that they housed weapons, it's actually a laboratory. And it looks like they're doing some type of cloning experiments. And then they find a holo message from the doctor that we saw in the first episode that was experimenting on Baby Yoda. It turns out that they want Baby Yoda because they're using Baby Yoda's blood to make some type of creatures or some kind. I don't know what exactly they're making, but that's why they want Baby Yoda, to use his powers. And I think they said that, and I think that he used the word M, which is for midichlorians. They want to use Baby Yoda's midichlorian count. And if you know from the prequels, Yoda has one of the highest midichlorian count of all the Jedi. And I'm assuming it's the same for Baby Yoda, and it's just their species in general. And the only person that has a higher midichlorian count than Yoda is Anakin Skywalker. But for whatever reason, something about Baby Yoda's midichlorian count, which I'm like, I thought we were done with this whole concept of midichlorians, but whatever. Something about Baby Yoda's midichlorian count is vital to this experimentation. And so that's why Moff Gideon wants Baby Yoda. And then that's also how, at this moment, also reveals to the Mandalorian, Greef Karga, and Cara Dune that, yeah, Moff Gideon is still alive. He didn't die in the season finale of season 1 like they thought he did. And so because of that, that's when the Mandalorian ends up flying off to go rescue Baby Yoda. And it's at this point, this is really the first time in the show's run that you have entire sequences now happening and the Mandalorian's not in it. And part of me kind of wonders, like, did they do this with having now the show focus on Greef Karga, Cara Dune, and then the fish creature to perhaps be a testing ground for a spin-off for these characters? Because Disney Plus does need more content, and Star Wars is really the only thing that's keeping Disney Plus afloat. I mean, plus, the whole Disney library, but The Mandalorian is really the only new thing that's on Disney Plus right now. And so you find this epic chase sequence and escape sequence and action sequence between Greef, Cara, and the fish guy and the Imperial forces, and then they end up escaping, and finally they're rescued in the end where the Mandalorian ends up making it to a ship and he takes out the last 3 fighter pilots. And I was like, all right, yes, this is TV, but at the same time, I'm like, that was a little way too convenient. Like, considering the damage that his ship was basically about to fall apart. And then when you get to the end of this sequence, his ship looked completely brand new. And I'm like, it couldn't have been more than a day. I'm like, yes, I understand this is a world with space wizards and advanced science and super ridiculous looking alien creatures, but at the same time, I'm like, you mean to tell me they were able to fix his ship that quickly to the point that it looks like a completely brand new ship? I'm like, yeah, I don't buy it. But either way, he saved the day at the last minute, and then he's making his way to the planet to take Baby Yoda to Ahsoka Tano. And then you see the same officer that you saw in the 3rd episode, and he's trying to interview everybody to find out what's going on. And he tries to recruit Cara Dune, and he asks this really dumb question that if I was Cara, I would probably slapped him, because we find out that Cara Dune is from Alderaan. And if you know your Star Wars lore, if you've seen the movies, Alderaan was one of the first planets to get destroyed by the Death Star. And so when he asked Cara Dune, did you lose anyone? I was like, she lost her entire planet. Like, what kind of question is that? And she even says, like, yeah, I lost everyone. And I'm like, that was a dick of a question. But anyway, jumping to the Imperial forces in the end of this episode, you find out that that creature that fixed the Mandalorian ship actually put a tracking beacon on his ship. So now they know exactly where he's going to go. And now they're going to be able to not only find the Mandalorian and the child, but now they're also going to be able to find Ahsoka. And I will admit that I was a little disappointed that in this episode, because I thought this episode we were finally going to get Ahsoka Tano, but yeah, I was disappointed that we didn't get them. But at the same time, I was excited to see Greef Karga and Cara Dune. And then you also get a reveal, and it looks like Moff Gideon is trying to create this giant army of stormtroopers, but instead of wearing the white armor, they're wearing the black armor. It makes me laugh because I was just like, yeah, it's funny because you got a black guy in charge and he's like, I'm making everything black, which I'm all here for, because when it comes to Star Wars, it's not really that black, is it? But yeah, overall, I had a good time watching this episode. Like I said, I'm just ready to see Ahsoka Tano, but this episode was fun. This episode definitely expanded the world way more, and it basically kind of told you everything that you needed to know about letting you know eventually where this story is going. And so yeah, I would say chapter 12 of The Mandalorian is a solid hit. But the question is, have you guys seen this episode of The Mandalorian? What did you think about it? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, if you can't hit that thumbs up button, please hit that thumbs up button and like this video to really help out the channel. And if this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And just a FYI, in case you didn't see the notification, but I will be going live tomorrow, Sunday, March 22nd at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's some geeky fantasy news tidbits that drop, but that I kind of want to talk about, but I want to talk about it with you guys. So please stay tuned for that, and hopefully I'll see you live tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about the live tomorrow and about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.